I'm not quite done with Splatoon 1, am I? Hello and welcome to Splat Talk, the series where I like my man Smack talk about different stuff related to Splatoon 1 and Splatoon 2, whether it be technical like gear, weapons, gameplay, or the world of Splatoon. And since it's the first episode in the series, I felt like going back to the first game and talk about one of the most infamous abilities that came from this game, Damage Up, and see how it impacted the game's meta, even in Splatoon 2. So basically, Damage Up is an ability that increases the damage output of the main, sub and special weapons. As such, it impacted in many ways the way we play the game, as it facilitated making splats in this game for most weapons. For instance, it enables chargers and elaters to splat without putting on full charge. Shooter weapons could make splats more consistently, especially due to fall of damage increasing too. Blasters could also make splats with one indirect shot, maybe two with rapid, etc, etc. But due to sub-weapons getting their damage output increased too, it also made up for newer strategies to eliminate the enemy more efficiently. Take for example the burst bomb. It makes it easier to finish the opponent off with a burst bomb, even if it's an indirect hit. It's also easier for vanilla Eliter 3K to defend itself since it comes along with burst bomb, and weapons could use the bomb cancel, which is about cancelling the animation of throwing a sub-weapon by firing our main weapon in the middle of firing our sub-weapon, could splat more efficiently with Damage Up. But this technique is more useful with weapons like Carbon Roller or Slasher, which both come equipped with burst bomb. As such, many people complain about how broken some weapons have become with Damage Up, even if they were nerfed before. And the only ways to counter Damage Up were either Defense Up, which consists of increasing the defense of the player against the weapons in the game, or Quick Respawn, which after being splatted makes player respawn faster. Either you counter Damage Up or become a zombie and jump back in battle as quickly as you can. And while it's a powerful ability in its own right, there are certain weapons which cannot work without Damage Up. Again, for chargers, they become more aggressive with Damage Up, Squiffer being the only exception, but Eliter 3K and Bamboozler can't work well without Damage Up. Bamboozler is a rather weak weapon, as it's the only charger not to splat even with a full charge, and it can stand up on its own with Damage Up, as it becomes easier to splat with one full charge should the enemy be ever slightly affected by your ink color. Eliter, however, is a slow weapon, despite its tremendous range, and that's because it takes the longest time in the charger class to fully charge the weapon before shooting and splatting someone eventually. Because of that, it makes for less margin of error and even won't perform efficiently in battle. But with Damage Up, it allows the weapon to be more aggressive, which coupled with its very long range makes it one of the most effective and feared backliners that can even stand on its own in close combat with its sub and special weapon, even whether you prefer vanilla or custom Eliter 3K. But because this weapon needs Damage Up, this gives the Eliter 3K the image of a giant with clay feet, which sadly tumbled down so hard in Splatoon 2 because not only they took away Damage Up, they also nerfed its range, like a lot of weapons I feel, and gave it bad kits, like a nerfed Ink Mine and a measly Cloud of Rain for one version, and Squid Beacon and Bubble Blower for the other version, which does not help it in close combat as well. In my own experience, I use Damage Up to various degrees without going overboard with it. I may use 3 subs to 2 mains for most shooters, but I need the equivalent of 3 mains, usually 1 main and 6 subs of Damage Up in order to feel confident about using the Eliter 3K, because I know I have the option to splat my opponent without a full charge and retry as fast as I can. There's also a mentality behind such options with Damage Up, so as to say. And so the developers took away Damage Up in Splatoon 2 probably due to the complaints linked to Damage Up, but this would give Defense Up the upper hand since it will be harder to splat people with Defense Up, so I guess they also took it away for balance purpose. It's like Damage Up and Defense Up are like yin and yang, opposite sides that complete each other. There can't be balance with one of the two being taken away. I guess. But even with that, they made a new ability called Bomb Defense Up, which raises the defense against the sub and special weapons, like pretty much all the bombs, baller, inkjet, splashdown, and tenta missiles. Like, it's useful, but not useful enough to be made as part of our build, our gear, I don't know what. This may be also why they didn't make a counter to it, because the developers must have felt like it didn't in one, I guess. I know that there are weapons that can still perform well without damage up, but even so, there are weapons out there besides the Eliter 4K that could need a boost in damage output in Splatoon 2. I'm not just speaking of the emergence of this new ability called main power-up, but also some weapons that were so bad the developers have given them the mother of buffs to make them viable. Like the GoTuber, for instance. As of Splatoon 2, unscoped chargers, beside Bamboozler, got a new mechanic which consists of holding your charge in squid form for temporary time, which allows you to somehow move while you can hold on to your charge. And the main aspect of the GoTuber is that instead of holding your charge for 2 seconds like the other charger weapons, you could hold it up to 5 seconds. But at the release of the game, you could only hold a full charge. And the many drawbacks of the GoTuber, like Eliter time of charge, range between charger and squiffer, have completely overweighted the only benefit of the GoTuber. That's because as a charger player, you're not bound to always use this charge holding mechanic. Not only that, but if we do not consider this mechanic, then this weapon becomes irrelevant compared to the other chargers. So the developers not only made it hold a partial charge, but also made it able to splat at half charge. Well, not exactly half, but still, as if it got damage up. Only because it could not stand on its own against the other charger weapons. I'm still hoping for Eliter 4K to gain a damage output buff in some form so they are able to splat without having a full charge, which to me sounds like a bigger step forward for the Eliter 4K than just buffing its range, even if it's gonna take main power up to do so. I don't care. I just want the Eliter to be a force to be reckoned with on the battlefield again, but for me it has to be able to splat at half charge and maybe slightly reduce its charge holding duration in the process for the unscoped version, for balancing purpose, I guess. Also, somehow they gave back the Gal 96 its original damage output in Splatoon 2 because there's no more damage up to make it even more broken like it was in Splatoon 1, where they nerfed its damage output as a way to counter its damage increase through damage up. In Splatoon 1, Quick Respawn was also a broken ability, especially coupled with the stealth jump, but by comparison, I feel like damage up is slightly less broken. The thing is, damage up makes it easy to get splats, and that's it. But Quick Respawn, as it was in the first game, was made to overwhelm the opponent, forcing it to fight fire with fire. But somehow, even in a toned down version, that infamous Quick Respawn and stealth jump combo still found its way in Splatoon 2, while damage up was taken away with less reason to be than Quick Respawn in my opinion. So you can see that in many ways, damage up has impacted the meta in both games, not only because of how powerful this ability is, but also of how concerning it was to be taken away from the second game and to remodel the meta in Splatoon 2, not only during its conception, but also through the updates after the release. And that's the end for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any critics, leave them below. And if you want me to talk about another subject in Splatoon in general, feel free to suggest also. And be sure to rate this video and subscribe to our channel for more videos. This was Stardust, and I'll see you next time. Bye! By the way, how did we jump from something crappy to something of higher quality?